So, hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our session, our panel session on governance topic. We are going to talk about improving the service management to improve service provision. I will not take you a lot of time with my speaking because my role is here to moderate this session. And we have wonderful speakers. We have a very good panelists here. And I think that it will be worthy that you listen to them, that they are going to tell you very good stories based on the real experience. So just to focus our session, our panel session, let me introduce myself. I am Maria Serrano. I am the director for the Smart City Center of Excellence for Schneider Electric. And previously, I was working for one of the metropolitan area cities in Barcelona, Sant Cugat, as a CIO. So my point is that I understand really the point from the public sector, but I also bring the experience from the private one. We all are aware about the challenge that smart cities, that the cities are facing during the next years, demography, environmental, political, economical, social challenges. And we all are aware about the solutions that the smart cities are bringing to this new scenario. But there is one thing that is really important here is how do we manage to combine public and private capabilities to foster this innovation, to bring these solutions to the city, and to make it happen. And our experience, speaker's experience, your experience for sure, and my own experience, we know that collaboration is the most important topic in smart cities. We are talking about collaboration, public and private. We are talking about breaking silos. We are talking about doing things in a different way with the help of the technologies, the new technologies that are coming here. So I am not going to talk anymore. I think I promised it to be really short. And let me now introduce my guests and your speakers. Our first speaker is Valto Loikkanen. He comes from the Nordic countries, very, very high north. He is a global serial entrepreneur in alternative asset markets, like crowd investing to improve access, transparency and efficiency to startup funding, and investing in new innovation. He is a founder of Grow VC Group and a pioneer in digital investing ecosystems and development of a startup ecosystem for smart cities. He also advises 3 European Commission Horizon 2020 programs with 82 billion euros budget. Not too bad. To break out our table session, our round table, he will bring an intrepid presentation. How to generate more innovation and improve return on investment from our innovation ecosystems with Helsinki case as a success case. So welcome.
So hello everyone from my side as well. So I'll try to get on with the show and welcome to the presentation. So first of all, the important Twitter handles, if you care to share the message to the broader audience. And just briefly about my background to add a little bit of on the initial presentation. So I have both very hands-on entrepreneurial experience for 20 years building startups globally. I come from an entrepreneurial family with father as an entrepreneur, mother working on the public sector. So that's very fitting. And then the other side of my work has been on the public sector for 10 years, partly in parallel, like currently. And I have advised a lot of companies in addition to building my own and developing services for City of Helsinki. Briefly about the group, what's relevant here, we work on a global market and in different asset classes, where one of the most interesting is the startups and innovation, and this is how it relates to also into our business. So the question was how to improve innovation and improve return of investment. So let's first look at where the innovation actually comes from. So this is the kind of typical high-level description of innovation ecosystem. But there's a strong megatrend going on that more and more innovation is moving away from closed systems and more open with innovation through startups. So here's a comparison of the two different types of ecosystems at high level, and more detail about the startup ecosystem that we're going to be talking about today. There's a lot of background information for this megatrend. I'm not going to go through all of these details, but a couple of the most specific ones are that also big companies have identified that startup is more cost-effective innovation than doing in-house. So what is the difference between the innovation and the startups? Well, innovation is about developing a new product, service, or business model, whereas startups also, to be able to do that, they have to also create a new growing company and a business at the same time. So what are the keys to get the successful results? First of all, it's to focus on creating new growth ambition startups, focus on support services on very early stage of the startup development, and get more of the research and innovation, research and inventions and ideas to be developed through startups. So why startups, you may ask? Why is it so big? They are very small. Well, here's a recent study of Kaufman Foundation. This just came out about and the Institute of Competitiveness Perspective. So the fact is that over the last 25 years, almost all of the private sector jobs have been created by businesses less than 5 years old. Think about it, it's more than 90%. This is an interesting fact by itself, but also another interesting fact from the same research that in between 1988 and 2011, companies more than 5 years old destroyed more jobs than they created in all but 8 of those years. So what is a startup? This is what you can find from Wikipedia. It's a temporary organization designed to search for a repeatable, scalable business model. The focus is on growth, and only on growth. Here's to identify a startup from a business as usual or a lifestyle company. A high growth ambition, an unvalidated business model. So this is the new potential. This is what you find about the startup development phases on Wikipedia, but there's something seriously missing from this picture. This focuses on investment rounds. It focuses on startup that has already validated something. The question is what happens before that? What is in this area? This is where it's very relevant for the public sector, and this is where public sector should operate. So as part of the case Helsinki that I'm going to highlight, we had to improve improved startup development phases that not only focuses on investments, but focuses the startups and their development and how to identify startups at their different development phases. The startup ecosystems are those where startups, people, investors, service providers, organizations jointly collaborate to produce innovation through startups. So let's go to the case Helsinki. The challenge that we started with Helsinki was that there was not enough high growth companies in Finland. specifically in Helsinki. Helsinki metropolitan area is obviously the key driver for the Finland, and therefore it's also the area to find the solutions. So we find out that the growth support services are basically total mess. Nobody has clear view to what's actually happening there and how effective these services are. The growth potential of new innovation and startups is not systematically identified. Angel investing was not systematically organized at that time. This was a time at 2009. Investment readiness was low with the companies. The understanding of the concept of startup ecosystem was totally missing. And return of investment for single service and the ecosystem as a whole was totally unclear and unmeasured. You may say that's a bad starting point, but that's actually a very typical starting point when we start to talk about startup ecosystems. So as a first stage, it's about identifying the problem. Start to identify growth potential, development phases, and implement that knowledge into the ecosystem. Focus on services to clear startups along the way on their path and offer more specific services at different stages. To improve investment readiness, and eventually the ecosystem will start to emerge. To take more action, the startup development phases was more broadly used as a canvas for all of the development efforts, and still is. This common terminology starts to help to really develop the services, and the understanding about the ecosystem starts to appear more strongly. At the same time, there was a IT infrastructure created parallel with this development to start supporting and breaking the silos of different services. By being able to identify these services at their different development phases along with the startups, it's about being able to implement metrics to measure the return of investment of single service as well as the entire ecosystem. Currently, the IT infrastructure is more broadly in place. More metrics is being implemented all the time. The metrics are in use and are being shared among with all the ecosystem organizations. And it is becoming more iterative, improving process. So there's less unknowns, silos are breaking, return of investment becomes more measurable, growth supply of investment-ready startups, and more companies creating jobs and attracting international investments. So here are the simple steps to get started with your ecosystem development. I have plenty of more slides, but I'm going to skip them through to show only a couple of more here. So this is the important part between the private and public sector. It's an iterative handoff from the very early stage support more towards the private companies taking hold of the companies in form of private investments and so on. So this is how you can start to map your own ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Valto. Thank you very much. You may say he has some minutes left. Yes, he has, but we have agreed that we will share it with you. All of them, they will fix to 12 minutes presentation, so we have 15 minutes at the end. We can open a discussion with you, and you can address your questions to our speakers, and I think it will be more interesting to hear also your voice. Okay? So now let me introduce Sylvie Spalmacin Roma. She is currently the IBM Vice President for Smart Cities in Europe. She developed many executive positions in IBM in development, sales, and marketing in London, Madrid, New York, and Paris. I invite you. She brings into this roundtable some promising examples on IBM Smarter Cities value proposal to deliver measurable benefits and value outcomes with the city and the citizens. And she has a very nice surprise at the end of her presentation. Thank you, Sylvie.
Well, thank you very much, Maria. So I am going to talk about governance. Because leveraging data, everybody talks about data analytics, openness of data, algorithm and prediction. The technology works. So it's not about the technology. And in the booth outside of this room, you can see plenty of demonstration, even at our booth, with the technology. The difference and the keys to the success for municipalities and their suppliers is to put in place a governance that can truly help all the organizations serve the citizen for economic development. So today, we all recognize that everything is smart. Everything become instrumented, which means that you can get data out of every single stuff, even toothpaste now. So the data are there. This is the instrumented layer you see here. Telecom organization and plenty organization know how to transport data from sensors, video camera to database repository. The interconnected layer does exist. So the intelligent layer now is about what? This is about leveraging the power of data analytics, but if you keep this analysis of data only in a silo, then you do not leverage the power of data to serve citizens and to serve better the operations of the city. What we define in IBM as being the IBM Smarter Cities initiative is not a project on transportation using smartphone or smart apps. It's not a project on waste management. It's not a project one after the other in order to address every agency of the city. What we call IBM Smarter Cities Initiative is a citizen-driven value model driving economic vitality. The citizens are the integration point of all the services provided by the city and all the area. Tourists are the integration point. And at this integration point, you find out pretty quickly what's not working. So true smarter cities are, of course, leveraging data to really transform their operation. They are leveraging the algorithm to anticipate issues and react proactively. But the key is to coordinate, transform their organization, foster collaboration in order to transform the data into value. So let me take now 3 examples: City of Madrid, Miami-Dade, and then a third one that will join me on stage on Budapest. Let me start with the City of Madrid. This one has been already made public by the city officials in July of this year. The City of Madrid started a very important project, and what you see here on the wall is a schematic that the city provided in order to explain not about the technology, but to explain how the collaboration between the suppliers, the city whole organization at the bottom, and the citizen are totally transforming the way the citizen, the city hall, and the suppliers are operating. So what was the issue at the beginning for the City of Madrid? As you can see on the chart, Madrid is an area which is one of the 5 largest area in number of citizens in Europe. 3.2 million people, and of course such a city is at the head of an impressive number of assets. More than 1.1 million of vehicles. You can take the lawnmowers, I mean motorized vehicles. More than 252,000 streetlights, 1 million ton of household garbage, etc., etc. And the issue was that the citizens were pretty much upset with the fact that the city was not clean, the streets were full of garbage, many services from the city were not good, and the city realized that they had been paying their supplier on activity rather than on services. So the project that we are developing with the city of Madrid since the beginning of this year is not only to leverage a platform that we call the IBM Intelligent Operations Center to analyze the data and to provide algorithm to serve the data and provide value, but they totally transform their organization, keeping the vertical silos, of course, because we need very skilled people in every agency for managing the city, but putting on top an organization that is driving the strategy, driving the project, and fostering collaboration to share data amongst the agency, and even better, to share data with citizens. So it's not only about a smart app when the citizen can report that a leakage or garbage is all over a given street, but the system is then providing back to the citizen the fact that the city hall will fix the issue tomorrow morning at 10 p.m. 10 a.m., sorry. So there is a two-way communication with the citizen that are not taken as a mass number of people, but this is a one-to-one communication that is provided by the city. And now, how do you measure the service level agreement with the suppliers? You measure it based on the data analytics that is provided by our system, which is taking every day 350 key performance indicators through more than 101,000 measures a day. So this is a fact-based service organization with a total transformation of the organization of the city. The next one is Miami-Dade. Miami had the issue that they have an area where the water is an issue. Believe it or not, but there are plenty of golf area, plenty of parks that are absolutely nice, but water is an issue. So 3 years ago, the city decided to better detect leakage, water leakage, to understand how to detect better the pipe, which in many cities, the water is based on an aging infrastructure. And we started putting key performance indicators as well to identify leakage issues, to identify what was not well working in which area. And after the first year, the mayor recognized that the saving on the bill that the city was paying on water, $1 million was saved. And that million, of course, can be used to do different things. And now I would like to invite my guest, István Mozart, who is the CEO of a total new project in Budapest. And István, if some of you believe that in Europe there is no investment, well, then go to Budapest, because what you are going to hear is really exceptional. And I think that here as well, governance and data is the key. István, please. Thank you.
600 million euro, 100 hectares national and public park, and Parliament voted law defines in Budapest this program, this project. Just to get a brief impression about the current situation, this is a more than 200 years old public park, which will always put a strong must on us to keep the sustainability from the green edge till the social corner. It's a very, very complex location. If you see and have a look at, we have many other items in the park, from the zoo till a Luna Park, a thermal bath, an ice skating track, rowing area. At the same time, we have this 200 years old, 100 hectares big park, where we have at the moment 7 different museums, and we will get on top an additional museum quarter with 5 new museums with 6 institutes. And at the same time, the current quality of the location and the park, as you see at this short slide, is not at that topic and top quality what we would like to get. The development in this park will cover the next 4 years this amount of money, and even at the moment is running an international architects competition, which will be closed down by the end of this year, and we have to realize the new building and institutes by the early of 2018. Just to get again an impression about that, these are the 4 quartiers where we have museums, leisure, recruitment, recreation, sport activities in the park. We have skating, as I mentioned, many gastronomical items as well. We have those halls which gives for us more than 100 years old experience, especially at this location. And how to make all of that? That's the question. That's the topic why we have to look for those kind of a governance which will give us at least a chance to create up this really huge, and not even in numbers but in complexity, huge program and project to finalize that the next coming years. That's why we have to concentrate on all the transportations around this area, inside the area, instead of the current and regular transportation system. We have to change closely everything, even up to the electronic buses. It's not only the daily procedure of that, but what all the points we will have as well. In this park, we have to get new items which is always smart and fits to the benefits and the regulation, the BREEAM and LEED procedures and final approvals as well. How to get it? It's always something like the incubator of a smart and innovative support to create up and keep in procedure and maintenance for the next 99 years what we get into in the law as one hand maintenance and facility center by or Városliget Ltd. We have to look for a partner who can create up the basic ideas, hold our hands during the whole planning and creating procedure, and at the end, when we manage to finalize the investment, we have to be able to keep it social, economical, and green, environmental friendly as well. There we are really looking for all the benefits of this partnership with IBM to get it smart and innovative as one of the example point of a solution in Budapest. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now we have for me, a very interesting speaker. She comes from the Barcelona area. She is currently city councillor of Badalona, the third, if I'm not mistaken, the third largest city in the Barcelona metropolitan area. And she's also deputy for the environment at Barcelona Provincial Council. Mercè was previously deputy mayor for environment and mobility also in Badalona, and she holds a PhD degree in biology and has a lot of experience on urban wastewater treatment plants. So she has also a very technical view of this challenge. Mercè.
Thank you, Maria. And hello and good morning to all of you. And in my presentation, I'm going to explain how we, Diputació of Barcelona, are using small technologies and the potential of these technologies in medium and small-sized towns, and especially in energy investments. Diputació of Barcelona is a second-level local government, and our mission is to ensure the progress and well-being of our citizens in the province, and no matter the futures of the municipality they live. And to do so, we give technical and also economical support to the different municipalities. And we have a special focus on the small and medium ones, since, as you will see, they usually have more difficulties to implement actions to become more sustainable and more smart. Sustainability and climate change are the central axis of the politics of the environmental department of the Diputació de Barcelona. And during these years, we have done support to the municipalities to develop their Agenda 21. Also, we support the drafting of specific plans on water and urban waste management, energy management, green spaces, noise and air pollution. We are also facilitating the exchange of experiences and the networking between local governments of our provinces, also with local governments of other provinces and among different levels of government, the town councils, county councils, and also the Catalan government. And we are doing also benchmarking among environmental services given by local authorities, as urban waste management, street cleaning, green spaces, and also public lighting. And now I'm going to explain how we are using these smart solutions in medium-sized towns, especially in the fields of energy management and environmental services. In the field of energy management, as some of you already know, the European Union launched the Covenant of Mayors initiative in 2008, and Diputació became the first coordinator. The Covenant of Mayors wants to involve the local authorities in fight against climate change through the reduction of the energy consumptions and increasing the use of renewable energy in order to achieve over 20% reduction of GHG emissions. And this commitment means that every municipality, every signatory, must develop a sustainable energy action plan with different actions, and they have to implement these actions. Diputació has helped these municipalities in drafting their CIEPs and also in implementing these actions. And right now in Barcelona, we have 212 municipalities out of the 311 municipalities of the province that have signed this covenant, and more than 200 have been drafted. And if we analyze all the actions included in the CIEPs, we can see that most of the actions are focused on municipal buildings, also municipal facilities, and also on public lighting. Over 50% of the actions, even though they aren't the greatest emitters because they emit only 10% of the total CIEP emission. And if, on the other hand, if we observe the emissions, we can see that we can reduce the emissions mainly acting over private transport and also over residential buildings. In the case of small municipalities, it's very difficult to walk over private transport and also over residential building. And most actions, especially in buildings, are based on dissemination and communication of good practices in order to change the behavior. Until now, we have implemented mainly actions on municipal buildings and public lighting, but the challenge for us is to start to work on this residential sector. And it's important to point out that some experience led by some towns where smart technologies are used as a powerful tool to reduce energy consumption in this residential sector, because smart technologies give us the opportunity of measuring, comparing, and presenting data in an easy way. And if you know how much and how you consume, you are ready to take decisions to act. And we think that this slide has an special interest because it reflects the relative cost of implementing actions according to the municipality size. And it's clear that the effort for small municipalities less than 10,000 inhabitants is greater, both the price per inhabitant and the price also per ton of CO2 than the rest of other municipalities. And on municipalities, we can implement, or we can implement different types of actions, and we've called low-cost actions those with an investment less than 3,000 euros, and which are based mainly on changing behavior. We have two European projects, Euronet 50/50 and Euronet 50/50 Max, that are based on win-win methodologies, and we act over the schools, and we are reaching very interesting savings. And also, there are that we called smart actions that include telemanagement, energy accounting, smart metering, or also remote management watering systems. If you focus on these actions over municipal buildings and public lighting, we can see that if we compare low-cost actions and smart actions with other types of actions like LED installation or photovoltaic for self-consumption, the two types of actions, low-cost and smart, are the most efficient ones in terms of saved energy per invested euro, but also low-cost action is the most effective, but then there comes a smart solution. And also we can see that these types of actions has a very short payback period. And it's also interesting that to notice that both types of actions, low-cost and smart, have also as a main key factor the energy management. In this case, an energy manager is needed to implement, control, monitor, and maintain these types of solutions. And at the same time, a smart technology is a tool that might define, or that help define new low-cost action, because they focus on where, when, and how to act. But at the same time, we can also see that this, for small municipalities, smart actions, and also you can see that the installation of LEDs is much more expensive in relative terms than for other municipalities. So one possibility we have found is joining actions from different municipalities to improve this relative cost and make those actions more feasible and interesting for the different municipalities. And in this sense, we have in our provinces some county councils which have created local energy agencies, and that's municipalities that join these local agencies can have energy accounting and smart metering, and some of them also remote management services, paying a small fee. And nowadays there are several in the province which are having really interesting results, and the optimizations of the resources is very clear. So as a conclusion, in the province of Barcelona, the implementation of low-cost actions and smart actions is very interesting in terms of economic savings and reduction also of emissions, and especially when this bundling is possible. So the role of the supra-local governments, in this case of small municipalities, is very important. And at Diputació, we have another interesting experience, and that's the benchmarking quality circles. These circles assess the efficacy of the municipal services, and it's a useful tool to improve these services. In the circles, we measure different data. For instance, human resources, results obtained, the cost of the services, and we are working with a limited number of municipalities. In this case, there have to be bigger than 10,000 inhabitants, and we work with a number between 20 and 40 municipalities. And now we have 4 circles, one about urban waste management, another about street cleaning, another of green services, and the last for public lighting. And in this case, we don't work about planned actions as before, so we are working on real actions that have been implementing. And when we analyze data on the focus of a smart technology, we can see that there is still a long way to go, because there are the most used technology or the most used smart technology are in public lighting installations with remote management. Also, the smart watering systems in the garden and green spaces, or the field level sensors in urban waste management. But if we consider that the municipalities that are participating in these circles usually are the most active and innovative, we can see that the installation of smart methodologies in these municipalities is very low. So the potential of working in this sense is very high, especially in the smallest ones. Here you can see an example of what we are doing. Now we are working on a pilot test in some rural areas, in order to adjust the frequency of to empty the waste bins. And with these sensors, we have installed some sensors in some bins, in glass, packaging, and multi-product. And the sensors tell us if the bin is full or not when it's emptied. And results show, as in this case, that the frequency collecting could be adjusted and the cost can be optimized, and also the emissions due to truck trips reduced. And as a conclusions, we can say that there is a high potential to introduce a smart solution, especially in small municipalities, that low cost and smart technologies aren't expensive and also are the best cost-effective solutions. Also, that for small municipalities, bundling might result in a significant increase of the cost-effectiveness of the measures. Also, that the integration of all measures is what might result in a real good planning and management. And finally, that taking action in the residential sector is a challenge for us. But last but not least is that smart solutions always need smart people to maintain, control, and monitor all the results. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mercè. So we have here our Chinese guest, Dr. Dong Zeng Guo. He has a technical background. He's an engineer of information systems, and he has been long engaged in governmental projects, from e-government to system architecture, applications, cloud computing, Internet of Things, big data, has huge experience, including his participation in the Beijing City Digitization and Information Infrastructure Planning and the Government Planning and the Platform for Action Planning. He's going to share his experience about the information development of the city of Beijing in China to help in the strategic decision-making processes. So, Doctor.
谢谢主持人。很高兴，今天能来参加2014全球智慧城市博览会。我是来自河北省政府的网站管理中心的董振国。我讲的题目是大力推进电子政务核心应用。总共分4部分来讲。第一部分是智慧城市的本质及核心应用的概念。第2点讲一下推进电子政务应用的主要做法和体会。第3点讲一下当前面临的主要困难和问题。第4点是深化电子政务应用的思路和重点。下面首先讲第1点。信息化电子政务和我们现在这次大会的主题智慧城市，它的本质意义到底是什么？我认为，智慧城市的本质，即是我们生活在城市的人们和社会单元，包括社会组织、机构和一些个体，用最快的时间、最简的方式、最短的捷径、最易的方法、最低的成本，从而获取我们所最需要、最有效、最有价值的社会服务和我们所需要的信息。信息化电子政务和智慧城市的本质，我认为它是具有这样同样的属性。构成这个本质意义的有4个方面的要素。一是主体，主体就是我们在座的具体人、社会组织和每一个单位。路径就是所说的用最快的时间、最简的方式、最短的路径和最易的方法、最低的成本。它的价值所在，就是要获取我们最需要、最有效、最有价值的信息，而不是那些垃圾信息。再提就是我们提供的政府服务，城市所提供给人们和这些社会单元的服务和信息。这是我对智慧城市这一概念以及电子政务和信息化本质意义的认识。下面讲一下电子政务核心应用的概念。核心应用的概念是指统领电子政务全局的，以各级政府主要机构，包括办公厅室为应用主体的，覆盖所在区域全境的电子政务应用系统。这个概念比较抽象。但是它的提出呢是有3方面的理由。第一方面，首先是电子政务本质所决定的。刚才已经对本质做了一些阐释。同时呢，这一概念的提出也是我们政府机关它所在的提供政府服务、提供信息服务的主体地位所决定的。同时呢，这一概念的提出，也是电子政务发展、信息化的发展到一定阶段的产物。就我们河北来讲，电子政务的发展应该说经历了3个阶段。一开始从政府办公的自动化开始，一些简单的办公设备的应用， 主要着眼于提高效率。到20世纪初期，就是2000年左右，进入到了政务信息化阶段。从我们国家和政府发的文件上来讲，也是这样来定义信息化的进程的。政务信息化主要是采用一些系统的服务，来为政府、使政府能够为社会公民提供更便捷的服务。目前可以说，我们已经进入到了政务信息化向政府电子化的转变时期，也就是过渡时期。现在我们还不好说，我们已经完全实现了政府的电子化。这是对这个概念的理解。哎呀，这个时间这么长。下面我就介绍一下这个电子政务的应用的主要做法。我们是坚持顶层设计、科学规划，逐步实施。第2点是按照6个一体化的要求，实现集约化的建设。第3点是搭建服务平台，创新电子政务运作机制。我们在2008年由省政府网站管理中心发起成立了河北省电子政务研究会，并成立了第1届专家委员会。同时呢，采用电子政务的外包服务方式来提供社会服务，包括运营商集中投资，包括这个采用一站式的服务方式提供服务。下面是电子政务发展面临的困难和问题，总共有这3点。当前电子政务建设管理存在一些机制性的障碍，仍然存在。再一个就是发展不平衡。第3点就是信息安全保障体系仍然有缺陷。这是我们下一步深化电子政务应用的主要工作思路和重点，主要是加强指导，加强人才队伍建设，加强标准化体系建设。通过重点项目的推进，来提升我们全省的电子政务应用水平。我的汇报完毕，不拖之处，谢谢大家。Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. So, our last speaker is Peter Steele. She is an executive director in Oracle's global public sector team. One of his key areas is his focus on developing licensing and permitting wizards which generate real-time and highly personalized advice on the requirement to establish business under different cities' regulations. He will be presenting in Peter Jevonson's place, who was the former speaker we were expecting here, and he brings an example of how intelligent solutions may help our citizens to navigate government processes efficiently. This is a big issue for citizens, even in cases where there are multiple departments involved, and this may help to foster the economy of the city, and he will provide a very good example of this. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, well, thank you for the introduction. And we've heard a number of different aspects of running a smart city and ways that we can manage a city and provide services through this session today. So we've heard a lot about governance, we've heard about technology, we've heard about smart approaches. And I think the angle that I want to take, speaking for the next few minutes, is a little different, but also very complementary. And what I want to do over the next 10 minutes or so is take a big step back and say, well, what is it that makes up a city? And a city, I think, is a collection of people, and those people have a range of things that they want to do in their lives. So there are services that they need to consume, there are activities that they want to conduct, and very importantly, one of the things that will keep a city running is the businesses which people will start and run over the course of their lives. And in fact, we even heard an echo of that right back at the start of this session when we had a discussion about the startup culture and you know, what was necessary to promote startups within a city. So what I want to do is focus on the people within the city and making it easy for people to understand how to go about their lives in the city, and in particular what they need to do if they run a business or what they want to do if they would like to start a business. And what I'd like to suggest to you, and I'll move fairly quickly towards a case study from the United States, is that as people set up a business, as they seek to drive economic activity within a city, there are three issues that get in the way. And those issues, broadly speaking, are complexity, compliance, and cost. Citizens and businesses, I would suggest, often just don't understand the complex rules that apply to them, and it's difficult for them to comply with them. For example, I grew up in Australia, I lived in Europe for a number of years, and when I moved to a city in the United States, it was just difficult for me to figure out what I needed to do to get set up in the United States. And because of the difficulty that people face in setting up businesses and getting themselves established within a city, we can have a number of impacts that flow on. And they can include things like revenue losses to government from fees that aren't collected, but they can also include a lot of environmental or health and safety consequences if people have a business that conducts activities that aren't properly regulated and maybe contravene regulations. So I want to take just a little bit more of a look at what I mean by complexity, compliance, and cost. So to start with complexity, on the extreme left-hand side of the slide that I'm showing at the moment, when someone wants to establish a business in a city or when they're running a pre-existing business, there are many licenses and permits and certifications and regulations that they may need in order to conduct their business. You might need to register the business. You might need to register the business name. The business will normally be conducted within a building, so you might need planning approvals. You might need code certification. Depending on what the business is, you might need environmental approvals. You might be working with dangerous chemicals. There might be other regulated activities that you want to conduct. And to make it even more difficult, there might be multiple different departments within your city that have requirements that you need to know about. And even beyond that, you might have state requirements or provincial requirements or national requirements that apply to you as well. And so I guess the point that I want to make is there are many different requirements that apply to businesses. It's very confusing for people to understand all those requirements, and as a result, it's very difficult, first of all, for people to understand and be compliant with those requirements, but secondly, sometimes those requirements will actually be a disincentive to people from conducting economic activity. So if we look at compliance in the centre of that slide, I guess there are two ideas I'd like to suggest to you today. The first is that often poor compliance is not because people want to be fraudulent or because people don't want to comply. It's often simply because there are so many rules and there are so many regulations and it's very difficult to understand them. And what I would like to suggest to you, and what we're going to see in the solution I'm going to propose in a second, is that if we can empower citizens, if we can educate them, and if we can give them really easy access to the information they need that applies to their situation, their business, they can go through a process of self-driven compliance. And if we educate people, they will be compliant, and there are a number of important effects that follow on from that. And you can see some of those effects over on the extreme right-hand side of the slide that I'm showing at the moment. If people find it easy to do business and to establish a business and to be compliant in a city, then they might be more likely to start their business in one city rather than the next city or the next county nearby. Often we find that when we talk to people responsible for business registrations or building permits or environmental approvals in a city, there's an incredible cost in approving people's activities and approving people's businesses, not because necessarily the cases they face are very complex, but because people don't understand the requirements. They don't fill out application forms correctly. They don't necessarily find all of the licenses or permits that are required. And as a result of that, there can be a significant enforcement cost that cities face. Rather than have people comply up front, you have to conduct audits, you have to conduct inspections, you have to find the non-compliance. And even worse than that, certainly in the United States and in many locations around the world, there's a very tough economic climate at the moment. There is a shortage of funds, and now more than ever, cities are reliant on fees for permits and approvals in order to fund their budget as the tax take goes down. So what I want to do is talk about a city, or in fact a county that includes a number of cities, that has addressed, I think, a number of these citizen service issues. And I guess what I need to say to start with is great minds think alike, because I'm going to be the second person in an hour to talk about Miami-Dade County in Florida. Miami-Dade is a very significant county in the United States. It's America's 7th largest county by population. It has about 2.5 million residents. And what we saw a couple of years ago in Miami-Dade County was that there was a lot of economic investment, but there was also a lot of inefficiency in the way that businesses were set up in Miami-Dade County. And the actual issue was very simple. There were around 10 different departments who needed to issue certificates or registrations or licenses or permits to me, as an example, if I wanted to start a business. Because I would need to register my business and get a business license, but I would need building permits and then a range of other permits for different activities, whether they were environmental activities or tourism activities or other activities. And the experience of Miami-Dade County was that they did have a problem with non-compliance, but even more than that, there were parts of the system that were put under extreme stress because it was so difficult for people to figure out what they needed to do to comply. And as one example of that, Miami-Dade County has a licensing and permitting centre. It's a large office, it's just outside the city of Miami, and it deals with building permits. And they had a large number of customer service windows, over 50 windows, and people would go into the office, they would try to get a building permit approved, and often they were rejected, not because the building itself was something that could not be approved, but because people did not understand the process, they had not brought the correct documentation, and they weren't able to respond to the questions they needed to answer about the license or permit they wanted. So the solution that's been implemented by Miami-Dade County very successfully, and it's been in production since earlier this year, since earlier 2014, is to implement, it's a very simple idea, but a very effective idea. And that is that they've created a personalised advice wizard, and it sits on the county website. It's called their Business Startup Wizard, and simply what I can do if, for example, I want to create my business in Miami-Dade County is go to the county website, start to answer some questions, and based on each answer I give, it will figure out what questions are still relevant, so it only asks me relevant questions about my business. And at the end, it will generate a personalised checklist for me. It will tell me exactly what licenses and permits and certificates and approvals I need for my business. I can download that as a document that it generates. It gives me a series of links to application forms and different systems so that I can apply. So it's a very simple idea, but it's something that most cities and counties around the world have not yet done. It's the idea of, saying that even though the back office is important, we can give people really rapid, interactive advice. We can do it automatically. We can give them personalised links that are exactly about what they need to do with their business so that they can get everything done right, they can do it first time, and send a message that Miami-Dade County is a place where it's easy to do business and it wants to encourage economic development. Now, coming out of that, there's one probably very important point to make about the way they approached it, and that is to say that when people talk smart cities, they talk about large, complex systems very often. This isn't one of them. This is a quick win solution. It's a non-disruptive solution. So I said a few minutes ago that Miami-Dade County has probably 10 departments that need to approve business activities and issue permits for different aspects of a business. we didn't set out to merge those departments into one. We didn't set out to give them a common computer system for all their approvals. That would be a noble goal in the future. But one of the most important things about this approach is it's non-disruptive. What we've done is we've implemented customer service. We've told people which departments to contact. We've given them links into the different system. But one of the reasons this has been such a successful project is because it doesn't set out to replace all of their infrastructure. It empowers citizens and it empowers employees of the county to find the information they need to do really fast, while in the background the county can consider those bigger modernisation efforts. So that's really what I wanted to suggest today, that it's possible for a city to start out small on the road to strategic modernisation. You can have a project that only takes a few months and that is done at very modest cost, but can deliver huge customer service gains by giving people real-time, dynamic, personalised advice, in the case of Miami-Dade, by using a product called Oracle Policy Automation. And that can help people cut through the complexity. It can help them when they want to comply, and studies show that most citizens do want to comply. And it can drive increased revenue for the city through helping to ensure that people are licensed and collect fees, while also driving down cost, because you only need to process each inquiry once, because you don't need to audit everyone, because there will be less compliance and therefore fewer problems to find downstream. So thank you very much for your time, and that's what I wanted to share with you today.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. So we have learned that living in Miami-Dade is really nice. We can play golf, and also we can easily run a new business there. So we can be innovators like Valto, and we can go there and open our new business in Miami-Dade. My question, just closing this joke, did you meet in Miami-Dade running and developing this project, Sylvie and Peter?
No, but we met in Barcelona.
Okay, so my conclusion for this panel is that there are two things that have been in common in all our speakers, which is that the success of the project is when it is focused in citizens, and it is when it's driven by a very good governance of the project, of the solution. So my question, I want you also to think about your own questions, my audience, please. We have two microphones both sides of the room. But I have a question for our speakers, and the question is, what are the keys of success of your experiences, and what is the return? How can we measure the return of this success? Because we listen and we say this is a very successful case, and we believe them. But how do they know? What is the measure of this success? The keys and the measure. Think of your own questions, because in 1 minute we will have to address the question to our speakers. Who wants to answer to my question? Valto?
Yes, so in the case of Helsinki and in the case of startup ecosystem development, it's really to understand what happens with innovation, and specifically what happens with the startups in the startup community, in the startup ecosystem, because that is the biggest thing, is that when times get tough, innovation is called to help. New companies, new private businesses are called to help. And typically, that's the one area that doesn't get caught on spending. So public sector will spend more money on innovation in these difficult times. But typically, it is like a black hole. It's a place where money is poured, but it's not really measured what it's producing. And measuring this specifically in short term, and measuring something at quarterly or annual levels is very difficult. And for that reason, it's like a simple solution. Let's not do it. That's not the right answer. So the answer is to break it down into really small pieces, understandable pieces, and then starting to measure those individual services that connect to each other to contribute to the success of the companies. So the question is, if you don't have those metrics, that's how you know you need to do them. And when you do have those metrics, that is what you use to iteratively improve your services and improve the return of investment. So the question is, do you have them or don't you? That's your first checkpoint.
So I guess there are a couple of comments I'd make. So the first is I think it's incredibly important to be very focused on a really specific problem that a city needs to solve. So in the case of Miami-Dade, they wanted to make it much easier to create a business so there'd be more businesses generating more income for the economy in Miami-Dade. And I think the other part of that is, I mean, I work at a technology company and I've worked in technology most of my careers, but technology is not an end in itself. Technology needs to be focused to solve a problem. So we need to focus on that problem and then find the technology that fits in. And a large part of what Miami-Dade set out to do was, it was really simple. It was to educate people and to empower people and to focus on citizen or customer service. So just in terms of the sorts of metrics that we've seen, not just in Miami-Dade, but in a number of organisations that have taken this quick win approach with really rapidly implemented projects, it's very common for organisations to find that citizens really do want to do business. They want to get information online. And often you can achieve 80 to 90% self-service getting information about a topic like, how can I start a business? And that's significant because if you have a large city, you might have hundreds of thousands of phone calls per year with questions about a topic like, what do I need to do with my business? So if you can take 70, 80, 90% of them and have self-service online, you may have deflected tens or hundreds of thousands of phone calls, and that has a huge impact on the way that cities can focus their resources.
I would say that the good thing about analytics, data analytics, is that every project is on fact base with their results. And the best for citizens is certainly, of course, to measure if they see the result of the project. But even better, it's for the city agency and the mayor to see that the commitment on those fact-based projects lead to budget reduction and reducing the spending of the city. And many people those days are saying, yeah, but this is very costly, and even if we go for very specific project, at the end of the day, one project after the other can be really costly. Well, I always ask the question to any city leader, how much do you need to make sure your city operates every day? So what is your full year spending on the city? I was with a city this morning from Israel, and the answer was, well, the totality for the city to operate in 1 year, it is $800 million. Well, think about 1% of this, and with 1% of this, I bet you any data analytics project will save you minimum 10 to 20% of your yearly project by doing assets management, by correlating data across the different agencies. In Miami-Dade, in our case, it was saving water for their parks, and at the end of the day, the millions were there with the reduction.
Thank you. For me, the key of the success of one project is that we have to...
Mercè, you need to put it closer to your mouth.
We need to define well the problem, because the main objective is to solve a problem or to improve a municipal service for the citizens or for the workers of the local government. And for me, that is the clue, to have the problem well defined, because the objective is to solve the problem or to improve the service, not to implement technological solutions, because sometimes we implement technological solutions because there is modern and you can do, but the important is to solve the problem. And for me also it's very important the people that are involved in this project, because there are sometimes the same projects works well in one administration and not in another, and also that it's important to have a very strong political commitment in this sense. Thank you.
很同意刚才几位的发言啊，这个我认为呢，要想实现我们智慧城市建设的最大的效益，搭建平台很重要。再一个要搞好顶层的设计。刚才几位有提到的说要提出问题、解决问题。其实解决问题的过程，能怎么样才能解决得好？要很好的分析需求。而这个呢，就是有一个良好的服务平台，把我们这个系统建设的，既能少花钱，又能切实解决我们市民所需要解决的问题。这个是其中大有文章可做的。谢谢。
Thank you very much. So now it's your turn, my audience. Would you like to address any question to our speakers? No further questions? So just let me thank you for your time, for your attention. It's been a pleasure to be with you. And I hope to find you again in another session soon. And also next year here in the Smart City World Congress. Thank you very much. Thank you.